Greetings, Algo artisans. Cowboy here, and it is 8:30 a.m. EST. The market in New York shall open in 1 hour. So we're going to take a quick look at what's going on this week, take a look at the charts and the economic data, and in particular, we have words from the mouth of Sauron today. Actually, I don't mean to be too harsh on Jay Powell. I know some people think he's evil. I think he's just a dude with a job that may need to do some things for some bad people. Who knows? Maybe there's no good. Maybe there's no bad. There's just business. I don't know. I'm not going to judge it. We're going to make money on it. And so let's start taking a look at the data. Okay. Today, just now, is the Empire State Manufacturing Index, and that came out, looks like a little harsh, right? So bad for the dollar, good for assets, meaning that it would push, say, things like the SP 500 or Bitcoin or any other asset traded against the dollar up, right? So this data is dollar weak. So the dollar gets weaker, everything against the dollar is stronger, and every single stock fits that description. Not sure how strong an event this is. It is a red folded event on forexfactor.com, which means it's supposed to have a high impact. I'm looking at the charts right now, not seeing it. And remember, the New York market is not yet open. There's a lot of money waiting for that 9:30, tick tock on the clock in almost an hour. Okay, so Fed Chair Powell speaks now. That could be heavy impact or not. And the reason that is because the market is greatly reliant on what's going to happen with interest rates. And Fed Chair Powell is where the buck stops. So, you hate to use a bad pun there, but that's the fact of it. Whatever the data that is going to contribute to the interest rate going up or down, Fed Chair Powell is where the buck stops. Now, of course, there could be people who tell him what to do, but whatever it is, whether it's him, whether it's whoever, a lot of the things he says might be giving us hints as to whether or not he's going to hike or cut or not do anything to the interest rate in the next coming weeks. And of course, the market is greatly reliant on interest rates. So when he talks today at noon EST, that people will be hyperanalyzing it and microscoping it and just dissecting every word he says. And if he says anything that hints at dovishness or hawkishness or anything else, the market could easily go into a tizzy. So whatever trades people are in, especially day trades, they could get a little unexpected movement. And not saying it puts you out of a trade, but it could. So I do hang back when Chowell is talking, and that's going to be, again, at noon EST. All right, well, see if there are any questions. I don't see any comments yet. Hey, look, I see a few people watching. So if you have questions or if you just want to say hello, go ahead and say something in the chat. I love to hear from you. And okay, so let's take a look at the charts. Bitcoin is back in its high-level consolidation. I talked about this last week, right? Quite a bit. And I said that if price were to go ahead and do what it usually does on a double bottom, and that double bottom was down here at about 53,000. I'll go ahead and illustrate that. March, what's up? We'll talk about why that is, March, and explain it right now. March in the comments section is asking why it's a great day for Bitcoin and Ethereum. March, I don't know if you were watching Algo Factory over the weekend, but I did trade this yesterday. I had a nice successful long trade, and I even added to it and made some decent money on it. So the TA itself is a good enough reason to answer that question. And for the most part, if you ask me, I'd say 99% of the time it's going to be about the TA, right? It's going to be about supply and demand and things like that. Sure, once in a while you're going to have news that affects things, at least on a short-term basis. But generally, the news is just kind of something for news outlets to sell. And the reality is that market forces are going to push things, right? So Valley Girl has a question. Do you think the thing with Trump will affect the markets? Yeah, Valley Girl, I think that the markets, and this is just kind of theory, we'll take a look at some signs in the SP 500 futures. But I think it's going to be good for markets. I think prices are going to go up. I think the world knows that if Trump is in charge, that the stock market will be probably doing well. And of course, people will anticipate that. That's what happened last time he was in charge. He's a businessman. He wants business to do well. so on and so forth. All right, in the meantime, let's take a look back at Bitcoin and why it has done so well and why I called that nasty trade, that great trade that I took yesterday. For anybody who was watching the Algo Factory private live lab, at one point I had a trade that was a 6-1 and I took some profit at about 5-1. I didn't let it run all the way just because the market ran up really hard, and when the market gives me a gift, I take it. So here's a double bottom, this smaller rectangle. And the reason that is a double bottom is this pattern that I'm about to illustrate with these arrows. Price came down. Let's fix that. Give me 1 second. Just want to make this a bit more visible. Okay. Price came down, rallied up, and made a U-shaped move down, and then came back up. So let me just fix this arrow real quick to make it visible. So when price goes down, makes a bottom, this wick on the screen, and then it kind of makes a U-shaped attempt to go up, and then comes back down and makes another wick to down, and then rallies up really hard. That's a double bottom. And there are some other ways to define that we teach over at Algo Factory, but those are a very high probability of a win. And if you want to go strictly candle theory on this TA, the way it works is that this we have double bottom, so I'm going to erase this so to make it easier for everybody to see. But you have this candle right here that defined the double bottom, the second wick down, right? Well, when the next candle has a higher close, that's a good chance it's going to be bullish. And when you get a succeeding candle, when you get a candle afterwards that has a higher high and a higher close, that's kind of the big sign that you're going to get that move. And that candle actually occurred right here, right there. That was the candle that told me, okay, this is probably going to be a good long, because its high and its close was higher. Both were higher than the that one double bottom candle right there. So we'll go over that more in private live lab if anybody has any questions about it. That's just some basic candle theory. Of course, you could always just rewind what I said and watch it over if you want to know about it, or if you have questions, ask. I can always be happy to explain that again. Okay, another question. Data with Dan asks, good morning, Algo, Cowboy, any major pre-market reaction to the former president? Yeah, we're going to look at that right now. Okay, so let's move over. Well, let's just quickly talk about Bitcoin. That won't take very long. But again, what I said probably would happen is the price would make its way back into this consolidation between 61,000 and about 72,000. And it appears that it's done that. It could always come back out. However, the TA does suggest that it should remain in here for the meantime, but I'll keep a watch on it. As a range trader, I probably would be happy just going long right here to the top. But what's probably going to happen, though, is that we're probably going to see some kind of pullback. It might not pull back to the bottom of this range. It might just be a slight pullback. But if it does pull back, I might take a bit of a higher time frame trade and then go ahead and long to the top of the range. And again, the algos will have to agree with all that, and I'll take a look at it at that time. For the moment, I'm not going to buy green, or in this case, blue candles that are just really going up hard. I tend not to buy those. I want to wait for a pullback of some kind, right? This is all 9 times out of 10. That's just the best way to go. Plus, we have the range on our side. That's a range that's very well established, high time frame stuff. So that's the plan for Bitcoin. Now, to answer really Data with Dan and Valley Girl, let's go ahead and run over to the SP 500 futures. I was taking a look at this last night, and I actually said this, I believe, to all the Algo Factory private members, but all last night, the futures were climbing, right, on a lower time frame. So futures are, they'll go ahead and start earlier than the rest of the market, right? And the futures opened up. I'm going to go ahead and now expand this chart. Now, remember what you saw really briefly, just a quick reminder. So let me go back to this higher time frame chart. Sorry about this. I mean, jump around too much. But remember, I think that price is going to head up to about 6,000, right? I think the SP 500 is going to continue at the trajectory that it's on and make its way to 6,000. That's what I think is going to happen. Just, that's what the TA says. That's what the algos say. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I think that having a trade on from the current price to 6,000 with a properly made stop loss can be rather lucrative. And this is a higher time frame trade than I usually take too, by the way. But I think it's a great move. I think a lot of money to be made on that. I'm not saying to do it. It's not investment advice. That's just and I'm looking for a decent pullback on that. But you know what? That might not come, especially with this Trump news. And the reason I think meaning that if it doesn't come, I'll probably just lay a position on anyway and, deal with whatever stop I can get. But you'll notice that I have this arrow, right? That's that high time frame move, and this trajectory on the bottom is following it. I mean, it's actually a little stronger, but it's not a lot of data. I wouldn't be too impressed with that. I just like being a little bit impressed when I predict the future. But let's go ahead and look at something a little bit more meaningful here and why I think that this is probably going to rally when the market opens. Now, it might fall. It's not absolutely guaranteed. Price will rally at the market open, right? Price could dump. But the reality is there are not a lot of pre-market traders, right? Aftermarket and pre-market volume is pretty low. So you're not going to get like earth-moving moves on pre-market, not usually. However, we have the market open. See this big wick right here? This bad boy? That is the market, the pre-market open on Sunday. That's the first wick. Price really rocketed up, and that's a strong move on the SP 500, for a pre-market 5-minute candle. That's massive. And then, of course, as the rest of the day wore on and overnight, price continued up, and it just pretty much keeps going up, keeps getting bought. And that's a decent indication that we're going to see the SP 500 rally at the market open. So doesn't mean it's going to happen. You see sometimes where price will actually go up and then candle down pretty hard at the open. And that could also happen. But overall, I think a rally is pretty likely. It was already in a very bullish position. And like I said before, based on the past and based on the way that the world sees Donald Trump, a lot of people feel that this is cemented in his victory, this event where they tried to shoot him. And, frankly, they shot him is what they did. And a lot of people see that as bullish. And I think the market will see it that way when it opens. So plenty of evidence for that. Not guaranteed, but that's what I'm looking at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this right here. Don't forget to come over to algofactory.tech. What we do is we help people learn how to trade, and we also have it's a Telegram room. It's a community where I'm showing what my trades are. A lot of my trades, my scalps, little tiny trades. I don't really show those, but I will show a lot of my trades. People get to see them before I get into them or as I'm getting into them. And you can do your own research. And if your research matches mine, then, you might be able to find yourself a trade or two, right? You had a killer one on Bitcoin yesterday, like I was talking about. We also help people learn how to build their own algorithms. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to computer code or, build an auto trading bot. But if you want to do that, we can help put you on that path as well. AlgoFactory.tech, trade your job, upgrade your life. Join us or die.
Join us or die.